Hello, everyone, and welcome into School Talk on 98.5 WJHI LP Jeffersonville, home of the Red Devil Network, with you at the WJHI studios today as we welcome in on September the 10th the band directors of Jeffersonville High School. We've had a lot of people from the sports side and administration lately, but now we're looking at a different perspective and aspect of the school, and we'd like to welcome the musical side of Jeffersonville High School into the studios. First, let's welcome in band director Mr. Adam Miller. How are we doing today, sir?
Good. Thanks for having us today.
And also with us, band director of Jeffersonville High School, Miss Miko Martinez. How are we doing, Miss Martinez?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Doing well. Like I said, excited to have you guys in and talk a little bit about the other side of the school. Everybody's focusing, I know, on sports right now and trying to see if sports are going to be going, but the musical side, a big perspective and part of what we're doing here at Jeffersonville High School, and a lot that has gone on in success with the program. And that's really where I want to start at today with you, Miss Martinez, is talking about the band program. The challenge for everybody, it seems, is with COVID, how do you practice? How do you prepare? And I know for band, you all put in a ton of hours to get everything down pat, from marching band to all the way through regular class time, working with individuals. For you, Miss Martinez, what are some of the challenges that this year present different than others, and how are you all working through it here at Jeff High?
All right, thank you for that. So our primary focus is to make sure that students are having a quality educational experience with us, and how do we make that safe while we're fulfilling our mission of teaching students how to play music instruments. So the first thing we did was we referenced some studies that was published through Colorado on how the aerosols work with playing instruments, and what research has gone into with social distancing and sound barriers and air barriers and things like that. So we developed a rehearsal plan. Most of our rehearsals are outside right now. Even concert-style rehearsals are outside, where students are spaced at least 6 feet apart, sometimes 10 feet apart, depending on what we're doing. And we've been able to enjoy full rehearsals with a full complement of percussion instruments, woodwind instruments, and brass instruments. And we have a modified rehearsal schedule to accommodate the number of hours we can be here outside of school, as well as the frequency of rehearsals. And it's been very successful, actually. And now during class, we also maintain proper social distancing with all chairs spaced at least 6 feet apart, and students are able to play their instruments, and we're able to have full rehearsals, and it's pretty good. Yeah.
For you all, and I'll stay with you here, Ms. Martinez, when you talk about it's fantastic that you all are able to work outside and continue to keep the band together and everybody still moving at the same pace, because I know, especially with band, you have to continue day after day to keep up your skill level. Otherwise, it falls away with having time off. For individual practice, are you all able to still use the practice rooms, or maybe you take the practices outside? How do you handle individuals if they need help?
Yes, so we have several different technologies that we're using right now to help with individual feedback for students. So we use a program called Google Classroom, right? So we're used to that, but also a program called Music First, which allows students to work on music theory skills and playing skills, and they turn in videos to us that we listen to, and we can give feedback. We use a grading rubric called Doctopus that helps us give really detailed feedback to students on their playing assignments. They create a video recording. If they are having trouble understanding the literature, we have practice tracks that we've created for them that show the sheet music as it goes by, and they can follow along with the video to hear what their part sounds like, to hear what the band part sounds like. And then, of course, we also offer video lessons person to person in our Google Meet. And then students are also able to schedule in-person lessons with us if they really need to, where we can maintain correct social distancing, and those can happen either outside or inside the band room.
That's fantastic. Mr. Miller, I'll go over to you. Speaking again, kind of going down that line of e-learning, and for you leading the program, what are some of the things, I know everybody's focusing on the difficulties that have come with this year and the challenges, but has there been anything you've been able to take away this year dealing with COVID, having to change up your style maybe a little bit and things that are out of the norm? Is there anything that you've taken away from this year that can be a positive going forward, that you say, hey, I might add this into my program next year, or this is a better way to practice than even before COVID?
So I'm glad you used that word positive, because actually our theme for this year is positivity is contagious. You may have seen yard signs around the community, and I know you have one of those actually. There's I forget who said it, but there's a famous quote that's never let a good crisis go to waste. And that's kind of how we're kind of framing it with our students, that this is an opportunity to create something that's never been created before. So there are things that will come out of this that we'll learn and be better at because we've been through it. And then we also talk a lot about just not letting things defeat us, figuring out our way through, developing grit. The students that are going to be most successful right now are not the ones that necessarily are getting a percentage on a test or things like that. But the students that are going to be successful coming out of this are going to be the ones that do develop grit and are able to maintain positivity and creativity through this time. And that's really what music happens to be the subject we teach, but what we're teaching as students. And I think our band students are going to come out of this stronger and better as people because of what we're working on in our daily classroom as well as the after-school rehearsals.
I know for especially band, and I think it's sort of the same line of thinking for theater and also what we do in radio TV is that e-learning is not always optimal. You want kids to be in the classroom, in the band room, hands-on. That's where you really get your best learning. But talking a little bit about the individual instruction and having Google Classroom and using software online, what are some of the advantages you think having students work from home in that standpoint? Something to look at from a positive side that, you can't be with them hearing the sound directly and making the immediate adjustments, but having them recorded from home, send it to you. Are there some advantages of that you think you might be able to take into the future?
Yeah, one of the things that we've tried to instruct our students on is just life balance. For instance, if you're in my school, how do you wake up at a good time, schedule your day, and musicians that have good routines, and practice schedules and things like that it can be implemented into everything that they do in their life. So that's been a big plus, is being able to educate students on what they're actually doing at home, not just musically, but how they're scheduling their day. Because again, that's a skill that they can use in the rest of their life. And then it does, it's a lot of time for us, but it does offer the opportunity for very individualized instruction. So there's a lot of students that might actually come out of this being more independent and have more independent learning skills. What we can't do right now is how to listen to each other and how to play with an ensemble. So those are the skills that we'll have to work on when we come back together. But we might actually come out with some students that thrive on that individual skill that they're learning right now.
I think for every program in the school, whether it's athletics, music, engineering, you name it, you have to have really two perspectives. And what I mean by that is you try to, obviously, day to day, you want to maximize everything you can get out of it, but you try to have that 30,000-foot view. You want to see where the program can be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I know, Mr. Miller, you've been here for some time, and you're looking for long-term goals. I know with COVID, you're trying to maximize each day as best you can, but what are some of the long-term goals that are still on your list here at Jeffersonville High for the band? Are there things in the community that you'd like to accomplish? Is it more of getting kids into college and continue them in the band space once they go to the university level? What are some of the goals for you long-term here at Jeff High?
Well, there's a lot of levels to that. Like you said, the 30,000-foot view. The everyday goal is excellence in everything that we do and every detail that we do, and teaching that to our students. On the bigger level, you start to zoom out, and band and a band program and what we do can change an entire community. And we already see that, we celebrated our 90th anniversary last year, and this year is our 91st anniversary. And we've made real change within the community and made Jeffersonville a better place to live and to grow up for our students. So that's the first long-term goal. And then the better that we do that, then we become an example for other band programs across our region and our state and the country for community building and excellence. And not necessarily, I think a lot of people focus too much on the competitive or score or marching band aspects of the program that way, like how many gold medals did you get and things like that. And we do very well in those aspects, but I think the longer lasting things are what we do leadership wise, what we do community building wise. And for example, our leadership program that we do with our students, our mission statement that we created through our leadership, and it's our students doing that. It's being shared around the country, and even there's a clinician that works with our program, Dr. Matthew Arau, and he's done clinics in Singapore. And there are kids in Singapore using our band leadership as an example to how to create their band leadership structure. So it's kind of a everyday versus the 30,000 foot, like you said. But those are really the important things that we're doing in the program.
Here with Mr. Adam Miller and Miss Miko Martinez, the band directors of Jeffersonville High School, with you on School Talk September the 10th. I'll start with you on this, Mr. Miller, but I'd like to have Miss Martinez answer this as well. You just brought up the history of the program. Going into now year 91 of Jeffersonville High School's band, you talk about the tradition, one of the oldest bands in the state of Indiana. Why, and I noticed this really a couple years ago, and I think it's relevant to bring up now, probably the most connected alumni in the school is with your band program. I see more support for the band program online, people coming back than for your band program than anybody. Why, and I'll start with you, Mr. Miller, do you think you guys have such a great connection with the alumni, support from people inside the community? Why have you all been able to be so successful at that at Jeffersonville, really, I think, over any program?
Because it's about student experience and teaching human beings and the experience that they have in our program, more than numbers or, I can play this certain level of literature and all that. And what that means is connection, positive growth. Those are our focus every single day. And when we have alumni go out into the world, and we've had some amazing alumni, both in the band world, but just in regular life, come from our program, that's something that sticks with them for their entire life. And it's not just a fleeting, I happen to get this gold medal at this event or do that. At the moment that feels good, but the reason why people keep coming back and keep supporting the program is because of the real human connections we make and we teach in our program.
Ms. Martinez, what impact, since you've been here, have you seen the alumni have on the students at Jeffersonville, not only for you all as teachers, but for the students day-to-day in band and also going out in the community when you can, doing events, sporting events? How big of an impact does the alumni with support have for Jeffersonville band?
Oh, I think they have a huge impact. Band is all about family. It's all about community. It's a special place where people learn how to communicate with one another non-verbally through the language of music. And it's very powerful. The relationships that you create while you're in a band program are unique, and those relationships stay with you the rest of your life. Where you get the whole met and married type thing, married your high school sweetheart, that's so common in the band world because of, what we go through together as a family and a community. And when you graduate from a program like Jeffersonville High School Band, you carry that with you, and you can't help but want to come back and give back in any way that you can. We have alumni that help our students. Just this past spring when we first started with the COVID quarantine, we had an alumni that came back to help us compile recordings together to create a virtual band performance of our 90th anniversary commission that we dedicated to the city of Jeffersonville as the official city hymn. And that's very powerful stuff. We have Jeffersonville alumni that are CEOs of their companies that come back and they donate their wares to our program, but they donate their time to help our students succeed. They give life advice to our students. Our alumni are older siblings of students that are currently in the program. They're aunts and uncles of students that are currently in the program. Our alumni are staff members. They're teachers in our building. They're the parents of our students. We have multiple alumni that send their own children back, so it's not even so much that they're not a member of the program anymore. They are. It's just that they've moved on to the next role. And it's kind of it's a vicious cycle in a good way, with the connection that our alumni have back to the program. So,
I'll stay with you on this, Ms. Martinez. When people listen into School Talk, they're always trying to find out what the teachers are like, what the students are like, the background that goes with it. Share a little bit. We'll start with you, Ms. Martinez. Your background in band and music and how you got involved. Start from where you ever feel is the best part, whether it's high school band, what piqued your interest and eventually led you into teaching here at Jeffersonville High School?
Yeah, so I actually come from a family of teachers, and several members of my family were band people. So I first joined band back in 4th grade on a little clarinet, little Miko playing the tiny little clarinet. The clarinet is bigger than I was, But I'm also a military brat. So I lived on an Air Force base in Tokyo, Japan while I was in school. And one of the things that drew me to band was listening to the Air Force band and what they could do for the community. And all the point of a band or the music groups in the military is that they're all about morale, about cultural connections, and bringing two countries together. So those are the kinds of events that they play for. And of course, they're excellent examples of musicians. So between my brothers being in band and my mom used to be in band, and then seeing the Air Force band play, and my parents are both teachers, so it was really a no-brainer to join band. But then, as you go through it, you develop such a huge connection to not only music, but the people around you. And it becomes something you just don't want to give up. And so I decided to pursue a career in music education because I loved band, because I thought I was good at teaching. But then now that I teach, and I've gone through lots of education myself, I have masters from U of L and, yada, yada, yada. But now that I'm a teacher, it's shifted into, I don't really teach band anymore. I teach people, but my students also teach me. I have learned so much about humanity and how to be a good person from my students as well. And it's kind of like I mentioned before with alumni. It's a vicious cycle in a good way, where you give what you get, and you get what you give, and it's powerful and it's positive. So that's kind of my background as a musician. Mm-hmm.
For you, Mr. Miller, I know hearing Ms. Martinez talk about being somebody that's in the band, somebody that wants to be a player and a part of the group, it's different than being a teacher. A lot of people, they want to be in radio, TV, but they may not want to be a teacher one day. For you, what was the moment or the time that inspired you that said, hey, I want to take this beyond college. I want to do this for a career as a teacher and help impact students going forward?
So I remember, most people start band in 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade. I started in 6th grade, and my mom can tell you this, but the second week of 6th grade band, I said I'm going to be a band director. And that was my life goal from then on. So I'm lucky that I get to do that every single day. And that just tells you the power, even in a couple weeks of being in 6th grade band, of the power of music. And that's not everybody's experience, but it's everybody's experience to some level, And then over time, as I got older, and in 6th grade, it's just all about, you and having fun and those type of things. But the biggest difference between me then and me now is band is really the vehicle to make other people's lives better. We talk about that in a leadership program. Definition of leadership is just taking action to make somebody else's life better. And that's what we try to do every day, and move our students forward. And so music happens to be the thing that I'm passionate about from an early age. But if that didn't exist, I'm sure I would be helping people out in another way. But I think what's powerful about band and why it's such a good fit is because band and music in general operates on so many levels to make that happen, whether it's academically, behaviorally, expectation-wise, being a part of a group, being a part of a family. You can just go right down the list of everything that we hope education is. Music education fulfills that role, and that's why it's so exciting to be able to do it every day.
Last question I'll have for you guys here, and I'll stay with you, Mr. Miller, to start it off, is you talked often about the value of music and band and how it provides opportunities for students, not just from an educational standpoint, but leadership. If somebody is coming into 8th grade today, or they're in 8th grade going into high school, and they're looking to move their way into Jeff High, and they're considering the band, what would you tell them are the values long-term, if you're talking to them and their parents, of not just the competitive side, the leadership, the whole bit? What's the value of music and band in general that helps propel students for the long term?
Well, if you just start with the surface stuff, money, there's more scholarship opportunity for college and later on in life from band. We have not one or two kids go on every year and get scholarships, but we have most of our graduating seniors every year get scholarships because of their involvement in band. And they're not necessarily music majors. For instance, University of Louisville, you get $1,000 a semester for playing in marching band. And that's just, you show up and you do it. And that's not even scholarships based on merit or your playing ability and all that other things. So, and I know parents, when kids come into high school, they might have that in the back of their mind as well. Band is a pathway to so many opportunities. It opens so many doors that when you leave here, that will be open for you that you wouldn't normally have access to. And that's just the surface stuff, money and scholarships and things like that. But all the things that we've already talked about, being a part of something greater than yourself, I think that's everybody's desire, is to know that they did something important and they've made a difference. And our band program allows you to do that while you are doing something that you love to do. I also talk a lot about to our kids, something that's unique about band is you're the only students in our school that can do what you do. If you play trumpet, maybe there's 15 kids, 20 kids in our school that can play trumpet. Nobody else can do that. Now, I could go down to the gym and play basketball. I wouldn't be good at it because I don't practice it. But anybody can pick up a ball and have some sort of experience with it, and there's a lot of things like that. But if I handed a trumpet to somebody in the hallway that's never done it before, they don't even know how to put it together, And so what we do and the skills that they have are so unique and so special. What we do at the high school allows them to use that unique skill that they've developed in their first 3 years of being in middle school. And now you actually get to use those skills. You get to do public performances. You get to show off. We do, the band in a normal year will do between 80 and 90 performances a year publicly. That's one every other day of the school year, which is incredible. So this is their time to shine and use that ability that they've done a lot of hard work on. And it just happens to give them all those extra life benefits as well. So it's really an amazing opportunity.
Ms. Martinez, when you look at your life and how the impact of music has had, you talked about growing up on an Army base in Japan and having that musical experience of listening to the Air Force Band. If you could share with a student who's looking at coming into band, talking the same thing with Mr. Miller a moment ago, what the value is and how it's impacted your life in a positive manner.
Yes, so I'd say that being in band, we eliminate barriers and we create access, and that's really it. My dad was in the Air Force. My mom was a teacher, but when I was young, very young, before we were stationed overseas in Japan, we were a very low income family. I lived in a trailer. I ate ramen for many of my meals. And it was tough. My dad was a young airman type guy, and my mom was struggling through school. There's 4 kids. We lived in a trailer, but being in band, it's different. You start to think on a different level. You start to believe that you can break down barriers, and you're also more willing to figure it out. Our students here, they have access to many professors from the University of Louisville. So, for example, we do a mindfulness exercise every week for our students, like part of the regular homework. Our mindfulness program was developed by Professor Potocnik from the University of Louisville, and she's one of the OPA professors there. And our students have direct access to a university professor on a weekly basis, and they are able to contact her and ask her about advice. They can ask her about college, and she can give feedback on that. And now, when those students, if they're low income or if they're upper income, whatever it is, when they're deciding to apply to college, they are now on a name basis with a university professor, and they've developed a relationship with this person over the course of several years. And anyone will tell you that the fastest way to get into a good college is, do you know the professors there? The best way to get a good job is all about your networking. So we have an Access to Artists program that provides excellent teaching from local musicians from the Louisville Orchestra, from the University of Louisville, from IU, that come in and teach our students, and our students know those professors, and they can find excellent career opportunities outside of high school, not necessarily in music, but they have access to scholarships and all of these wonderful things. So it's all about breaking down barriers, creating access, and realizing that you can do so much more than what you think you can, you know. So it's a lot. Plus, it's a lot of fun, you know. It's just fun. So there's that too, you know. So yeah.
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming in today. I know you talk about people a lot of times. Mr. Dench and I leave the building here, and we're all at the same events, whether it's sporting or theater productions or your band productions or things that are going on outside the community. Usually we cross paths in one way or another, and I just want to thank you guys for your dedication to the school and the students. You guys put as much time in here as anybody, and especially as you mentioned throughout this interview, the opportunities that are here for band students. If you didn't already know before listening to this show, it's phenomenal, as Mr. Miller said, not just from the surface level, but you talk about from everything beyond that, from the leadership standpoint into having a bigger purpose here for the kids. You guys did a really tremendous job of explaining that, and I want to thank you guys for your dedication and what you've brought to Jeffersonville High School, and especially thank you guys for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
It's phenomenal. That is Miss Miko Martinez, band director, along with Mr. Adam Miller, band director here at Jeffersonville High School. Tremendous chance to bring in the musical side here of Jeff High and talk a little bit about the opportunities for education and beyond here at Jeffersonville High School, one of the oldest bands in the state, celebrating their 91st anniversary this year. Tons of great things to come on the horizon for Jeffersonville High School's band. Thank you for tuning in to School Talk here on September the 10th. You can watch the replay of this show at 1 and 7 p.m. It is on the Red Devil Network. That's TV cable 184, streaming on air, WJHI.com to hear the audio version, and also on 98.5 FM if you want to hear on the radio. That's every day at 1 and 7 p.m. And also later in the week, we will have this program on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, the Red Devil Network, will place this out and put it online. You can keep up with that information on WJHI's social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We want to thank Miss Martinez and Mr. Miller for coming in here to talk a little bit about the musical perspective. We'll see you next time here. I am Clay Abels. Thank you for tuning in to School Talk on 98.5 WJHI, LP Jeffersonville, home of the Red Devil Network.